It would make Florida just like California and New York by re-legalizing abortion on demand through all 9 months of pregnancy up until the moment of birth in Florida, which is something that we don't want to go back in time, especially with the reversal of Roe versus Wade and our Heartbeat Protection Act being in effect since May 1st of this year.
The way it's written, it allows for parents never to be notified.
When the people were going out selecting, getting petitions signed, they asked people to sign a petition to protect women's health. This does anything but.
In November, Floridians will be able to vote on one of the most pro-abortion measures in the country, making it one of the most pro-abortion states in the country. Amendment number 4 allows abortions up until birth for any reason whatsoever. We are here at a Ron DeSantis event to ask people why Floridians should vote no on Amendment 4. Let's see what they say.
Functionally, what will happen if this passes is that this will represent the first constitutional amendment in the history of our state that actually takes away rights from people. It takes away rights from parents to consent to whether their minor child can have an abortion, but it also takes away any legal protections for the unborn. They are essentially will be existing outside the protection of the law.
So first of all, I love your shirt. It's very nice. You're right to the point. Why don't you tell my audience why Floridians should vote no on Amendment 4?
Amendment 4 is one of the most extreme proposed revisions to the Florida Constitution that we've ever encountered since the new Constitution in 1968. It is outrageous because it would make Florida just like California and New York by re-legalizing abortion on demand through all 9 months of pregnancy up until the moment of birth in Florida, which is something that we don't want to go back in time, especially with the reversal of Roe versus Wade and our Heartbeat Protection Act being in effect since May 1st of this year.
Why are you voting no on Amendment 4?
Because I know that through Jeremiah, the book of Jeremiah, that God knew us before he even formed us in the womb. So this is a baby with a soul. So I was chosen by God to love everybody with a soul. As a Catholic man, I'm called to love and cherish everybody with a soul. And even give mercy that Jesus saved me through with the Eucharist and with the amount of love that he gave me. I need to show that love to everybody else too. And with a big family like mine, I love babies. They're adorable and I love them with all my heart.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 8 siblings total. I have 5 brothers and 3 sisters.
I can't leave my mommy.
How are you voting this November, sir?
How are you voting? If there was something you guys wish Florida voters knew about Amendment 4, what would be the number one thing?
I think that there is a lot of deception with Amendment 4. You need to really look at the ballot and look at what all they're saying that it is and what it actually is. There's a lot of deception.
When the people were going out selecting, getting petitions signed, they asked people to sign a petition to protect women's health. This does anything but. It takes away protections for women, and these 34 words, and that's all they are, don't even say woman. They don't even say woman. What this amendment does is open the door to take everything away, protections away. Women will get hurt by this amendment. Vote no. This is not. This, even if you are pro-choice, this is far, far too extreme.
The other things that have come down the pipe are not going to be decided by the people who are strongly pro-life. It's not going to be decided by the people who love abortion. It's going to be decided by the people who this is not their top issue. And they may not necessarily have strong feelings about it. And they're going to read that language and they're going to make a judgment about whether this is something that they think is good or not.
At the end of the day, it's murder, right? Basic murder.
Right.
And when these communists, they're all communists at the end of the day, when they say, oh, we want to have an abortion at conception, that's pure evil. Pure evil.
So do you think even the heartbeat bill we have right now is not good enough? Do you think it should be from conception?
From conception, yes. Yes, definitely.
I had the privilege of seeing my beautiful 2-pound, 3-ounce niece born many years ago, and seeing what a child at an early stage of development looks like at that point. She was born premature, and she was seeing a child at that point just beautiful, fully formed, beautiful, heart and lungs just beating for all they were worth. It gave me a perspective that I feel like God gave me of what unborn life looks like at an early stage of development. I got to see it, and it was a privilege and an honor. And this amendment would open up abortion to at least viability, but the way it's written, it's so undefined, the wording is so vague, it could go really all the way to full term. And but even if you look just at viability, we protect sea turtles and their eggs, and we should. It's a wonderful, noble thing that we do, federal and state protections for sea turtles. But it's not just the turtles; it's their eggs, and those are unborn sea turtles, and very significant penalties for that. And no one asks, is the sea turtle viable when it's in the egg? It's a sea turtle, a developing sea turtle, and an unborn child should have comparable protections to an unborn sea turtle.
In the amendment, it does say to the point of viability, but they don't tell us when that point is. Will you describe just how sneaky some of this language is and how short the amendment is? Why is that a problem?
The amendment is incredibly short. It has no definitions whatsoever. If you've looked at other amendments that Florida voters have passed in the past, they have been quite lengthy. And so this Amendment 4 is deceptive on purpose. It's to trick Florida voters into believing something it is not. And viability, of course, is an open-ended question, but if the Florida courts were to look at it, they would interpret, I believe, in the most broadest sense. And aside from that, the amendment has a gigantic loophole so that the abortionist, or basically any medical provider or non-medical provider, a healthcare provider, which again is an undefined term, can allow a sanction an abortion all the way up through the 9th month of pregnancy. So it's very deceptive. It's not just until viability, whenever that's defined. It's really to the moment of birth. It is barbaric, and it has no place in the civilized world. And we certainly don't want to go back to the pre-Roe state here in Florida. We want to post-Dobb America, and Florida is leading the way with our Heartbeat Protection Act, and we certainly want to make Florida totally abortion-free from the moment of conception without exception.
It's harmful for women. All the pro-abortion laws are bad for babies, there's no doubt. But this one is actually very harmful for women. If you were a woman and you were getting health care, wouldn't you want follow-up care? Wouldn't you want to be able to go back to your doctor? Wouldn't you want it to be a doctor? There's nothing guaranteed in this thing, in this amendment. This amendment takes away the doctor. It takes away all laws that would protect the clinic for being healthy for the women. It takes away the right for parents, of course, to consent for their children. So it's bad for young women because they don't even have their parents' direction. If you're having surgery and you have no time to even think about whether you want to do it or not. This is like you go in, you get your abortion, and you get out, and there is no follow-up, and this takes away every law that we have had that would protect women and would tell women that they have a chance to change their mind, they have a chance to be informed, they have a chance to make a decision that's better for them, and of course for the baby.
But what you will have been able to do is you will play the role in standing up for what's right, not just in terms of a culture of life, but how a republic is supposed to be governed.
Well, number one would be parental rights. I've got 3, and literally the way it's written, it allows for parents never to be notified. Healthcare providers or anybody that calls themselves that. So they can get permission that way to have it happen. If my daughters, God forbid, got pregnant and decided to do this, I would be beside myself, not giving them the opportunity, my not only constitutional right, but my moral right to guide them through life. I brought them into the world. I should guide them through the world, and they know that, But there are a lot of women, and mothers who are taken totally by this emotionally, and they should have at least that right. And under this provision, that right is not guaranteed. No way, and it wouldn't be guaranteed.
So what he's describing, I'm just going to talk to the camera real quick for a second. In this amendment, it takes away the parental consent for a minor to obtain an abortion. And with that, that means that also in this amendment, so the child doesn't need to have consent from the parent. And then what's really wrong about this amendment is that any healthcare provider, so it could be her school therapist or a school nurse, that could, yes, and they can claim that title as a healthcare provider to this minor child, and the parent would have no say and legally would have no right to stop her.
No stop, yeah, right. Especially age 18. And, you know, children nowadays, they're inundated with so much information, doing so many things. To throw this kind of decision solely on them, that's beyond me. And I wouldn't want them to do that. I wouldn't want them to feel like they have to make that decision. But if I don't have a legal right, that so-called healthcare provider could stand between me and my daughter, even my son, and his parental rights to guide forward. So
that's what we're trying to do here. And we want everyone to be on board and make your voice heard. So thank you.